Hey Bat fans, Luke here, back with a video that I really had no intention on doing tonight. However, I was off today and I was perusing the world of the Twitterland, and one of my buddies mentioned in one of his tweets, he's a teacher, and one of the themes he was gonna go with the student today was talk about King Tut. Instantly, that made me want to reread the story. Batman King Tut's Tomb. This one is one of those ones that I'm pretty sure not too many people talk about, but it's one that I think it's okay. To be honest, really the only urge I really had to read this today was based off my buddy's tweet. That said, Batman King Tut's Tomb. Just a forewarning. You hear King Tut's Tomb, and instantly you're gonna think, yeah, this is about King Tut. Yeah, we're gonna see some of the zany stuff we saw in the Batman '66 series, that over the top, Egyptian themed comedic approach to the King Tut character. This clearly is not the case. So going into this, if you have not read that, expectation management, take that out of your brain and kind of get ready for a little different approach to King Tut. This story comes from the pages of Batman Confidential issues. What issues? Oh boy. It stands downstairs. I don't feel like getting this. I gotta do this one-handed. Yeah, 26 through 28, and then we also have 3 backup stories. 2 from The Brave and the Bold, issues 164 and 171, which features Hawkman in one, and I forget the name of the other one. Hawkman and Scalp Hunter, as well as a issue from Batman 353, which is a Joker story. So, all in all, 6 issues in this collected trade, 3 of which are the main story, Batman King Tut's Tomb. Now, I don't think it's going to be a necessarily long video, because again, this one, it's not necessarily a really big and complex book to read. Front to back, read this in about an hour again today, so it's not one that really going to take up a whole lot of your time. It's pretty simple storytelling, pretty much. And the main story, King Tut's Tomb, I kind of walk away when I read it. It's kind of being like, okay. This is it's really one of those middle of the pack stories, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it's not really one that's just like, wow, I can't believe what happened in that story, and oh man, it's gonna affect the mythos forever. Not really. And basically the premise behind this story is that there is this individual, and I'm having the toughest time remembering names lately. I want to say his name is not Victor. Is it Ryan? But basically what's happening is that there is the opportunity for the Gotham Museum to bring in a bunch of King Tut's artifacts. But the powers that be in the kind of like the board of directors, whatnot, kind of decide to, hey, you know what, this is probably not a risk we want to bring into Gotham, considering Gotham's reputation and the chance of something kind of getting lost. So they kind of, go against it. But of the folks in this board of directors, for lack of better terms, there's one individual, Victor, and his name is Victor. His name is Victor, and he is really a King Tut enthusiast. But he kind of takes his obsession for the character and kind of takes it to the next degree. And what his big belief is that there was a conspiracy theory that King Tut was assassinated because he was a worshiper of the god of the sun. And he takes this kind of assassination conspiracy plot and kind of really brings it into a lot of his interactions with what's going on in the Gotham Museum, and it ultimately leads to his detriment to his ostracization from the society. And obviously the chance of getting, King Tut's artifacts brought into society was a big goal for him, and that got crushed. So obviously didn't leave a good taste in his mouth, and he's gonna plot his revenge. However, he does it in a very unique way. He does it by assuming the mantle of King Tut and systematically tries to murder each of the members of this board of directors. Ultimately, let him go and denied the King Tut's artifacts coming into Gotham. And what we see throughout in this story is these murders plot that's going on, that not only they kind of incorporated using the, kind of like the King Tut mythos, but they're also done by incorporating these riddles that not only, again, kind of pay reference to the King Tut mythos, but all kind of bring all these plots and murders plots together, weaving them in to not only how the murder is going to go down, but where and who and whatnot. Which that ultimately, as Batman kind of gets brought into the case, leads to him bringing in the Riddler. Initially, he thought the Riddler was the King Tut, but obviously through the development of the story, that's not the case. But what ultimately happens is that the Riddler kind of sells his piece of, hey, let me out of jail for a little bit, I'll help you. And initially, Batman and Commissioner Gordon ain't having it, but not only does he sell, hey, these riddles, I'm picking these up, but I can also use, my intelligence to kind of be proactive versus reactive, meaning that, I can see these riddles before they kind of happen, and we can kind of, use our smarts to, get King Tut off his game, thinking he's actually ahead of us, but we're actually 2 steps ahead of him, which ultimately leads, to Batman acquiescing and bringing in the Riddler to be part of him taking down the King Tut. And there's some twists and plots throughout this, but that's basically the basic premise of the story, is that Batman trying to prevent these murders from happening, and the Riddler helping him out, and that's basically what does happen, is they take down King Tut. You do see an interesting kind of character twist with the Riddler. He does kind of save face a little bit. It actually shows a little glimmer of him being a good guy, but in the end, it is what it is. That's generally the plot, and I don't want to ruin the story just in case you haven't read it, and I'm going to leave you some meat on the bone. Overall, writing was okay. I thought the riddles that the King Tut was kind of leaving beyond, it did. Some of them were kind of like, okay, got it. I mean, the first one is like, if you couldn't pick up what the answer is, you're just oblivious. What was the first one? It allows you to see. You cannot gaze upon it, and when you can't see, its presence is always felt. I mean, it's obviously sunlight. That one was pretty obvious. The second one, this one was, to be honest, kind of made me scratch my head a little bit. Maybe I'm just that oblivious, but its presence is feared, yet it's nothing, yet it's invisible. What is it? And it's like, okay. So some of the riddles, again, I think they were kind of more plot devices, kind of incorporate some of the, the King Tut mythology into, the plot behind the murders. So I get it. I mean, obviously Sunshine being, the god of sun, but so kind of mixed feelings on the riddles. I mean, it was an interesting way to not obviously a way to incorporate the King Tut mythology. Also, I think too, to incorporate the Riddler. So maybe that was the plot all along. Just find a way to get the Riddler into the story. I don't know. I will say that, again, this is a totally different twist on the King Tut character, so that's kind of good. But yeah, he was still kind of over the top, I think, a little bit. Kind of over top in the zaniness and the 66 way, and then kind of over top a little bit to the other extreme here, kind of just being kind of like a Victor Zsasz type. It's just kind of just out there a little bit to the right. Too far, in my opinion. The Riddler in this, mixed feeling on this one. If you kind of enjoy kind of what Tony S. Daniel did with the Riddler toward the end of New 52, kind of making him somewhat kind of like an anti-hero a little bit. You kind of get your little taste of that in here. But, I don't know, he was okay. Commissioner Gordon's cameos in here were kind of meh. Alfred had his one-liners a couple times in here. If you like, kind of like how Alfred kind of responds back to Batman, kind of like sarcastically every once in a while, you'll enjoy that parts in here. But overall, the story flowed. It wasn't very complex. It was a relatively simple detective type of story, and those are always fun. The art, for the most part, the art was very good in this. I would think when I was kind of rereading this, I kind of thought of Staparo and Neil Adams a little bit when I saw the Batman designs. Let's see if I can get some ones that just kind of gave me that. I do like that panel right there, but that's gonna lead to one of my complaints with the art. The Batman design, this does have that kind of classic type of design to it, which is nice. Let's see if I can get some really good ones. So, I mean, as I'm kind of flipping through, you're trying to find, okay, here's where we might see some kind of like this classic Batman. Again, I like the Batman. The character designs, for the most part, are very good. Colors are very good. But I will say, you do see it in some panels, and it's right here is one, where it's like, it's good art, but some of these panels you can see the artist kind of taking some shortcuts, especially when you get into like the face. It's just very, well, that's kind of blurry, but it's very, you can tell the details are starting to skimp out on some of the panels. And you see some in the eyes aren't fully colored in. It's just me, especially when it comes to art, details matter, and then when I see stuff like shortcuts like that, whether be deliberate or just due to constraints, it just seems out of place a little bit, and I see that from time to time in this book. I mean, the art, again, it's just, you see a lot of it, it's just pretty good art, good colors, but again, you see sometimes where shortcuts are obviously taken, so kind of had to knock it back a little bit. But other than that, very good art for the time, and for the story, it really beefs it up. And you even see kind of like in a flashback, we're kind of going into Zach's past. I like how they kind of give the black and white brownish tint to it. So, but yeah, I think it's actually probably the best part of this book is the art. So I'll kind of give it that. Overall, I'm going to give a comprehensive score once we get into the other stories, which I'm going to just breeze through them really quick. I'm going to keep this video relatively short. The first backup story is with Batman and Hawkman. Hawkman, it's good if you're obviously digging metal. It's always good to kind of get some Hawkman stories here and there. This one kind of has some themes, kind of like some of the ancient artifacts in this story. That's probably why they included it. But overall, it's okay. It deals with kind of like, you really have to stretch your disbelief a lot in this story, kind of what Batman and Hawkman do to kind of get these artifacts into another dimension, and we'll just kind of leave it at that. Great art in this one, again, kind of has like that Jim Staparo type of art to it. The second Brave and the Bold story deals with Batman and the Scalp Hunter, kind of set in the Civil War. When I first read it, I read it yesterday. I kind of forgot about this. Really, it's not all that good, but it kind of mentions, a symbol of the bat, used kind of like a Union insignia back in the Civil War. I just instantly thought about, Barbados. How did I forget a Barbados story? It turned out to be nothing really like that. But you do see a little cameo in here by Professor Carter Nichols right here. Most recently, if you're a fan of Grant Morrison in the story Time of the Batman, that name should ring a bell. Professor Nichols helps time travel in Batman and Robin. Not necessarily time travel, but inside their head. They think they're traveling through time, through hypnosis, whatever. So it's good for that. But all in all, it's a relatively simple story. The last one from Batman 353, again, it's a Joker story. Joker tries to, take control of a monument and use some stolen construction equipment so he can basically do a Mount Rushmore version of himself. And Batman thwarts the plan. Great art in this. Kind of had that real good Silver Age feel to it. Joker story. And it's relatively quick, too. It's a real quick story, but it's definitely not like Batman today. It definitely has a Silver Age feel to it. So, yeah, it's that one. So, all in all, Batman King Tut's Tomb, is it worth getting? First grade. I'm going to give it kind of like a 2.5 out of 5. Really middle of the road, average read. One, I don't think you'll be disappointed if you kind of keep some realistic expectations going into it if you got it. Unfortunately, I think this is one of those ones that are out of print, so it's going to be kind of hard to get in trade. Might actually be able to get the main story a little bit easier in single issues in the dollar bins, I'm sure. But I say get it if certain conditions are in place. Kind of get a decent price. And you're not going to break your bank over it. And again, if you have some other stuff to get, prioritize that. But just go in there with decent expectations. It's literally, again, it's like I read the whole book in an hour today. It's a quick read. Kind of keep in mind the right context. I don't think you'll be disappointed. But again, just can't stress enough. Don't take this to be like an epic story, because clearly it's not. And obviously the King Tut thing, kind of keep it for what it is. So anyway, that's it for this video. Keep in mind, I'm kind of thinking of ideas for this Christmas themed video series I'm going to do. If you have any recommendations or things you would like to see me do, go hit me up in the comments below. And if you read this story, hit me up in the comments below. We'll bat chat about it and kind of go from there. So until next video, take care.